Once you've come up with your learning outcomes, how would you suggest tracking student attainment of them? And this is an interesting question. In fact, a colleague of mine and I had been talking about this, about what's the interface between these text-based learning objectives and the measurement, the quantitative aspect of it. How do we measure progress in those sort of things? So then when we think about it is, our goal is to sort of to code, right? To take this sort of verbal content of the statement of the objective and find ways to attach numerical values to it. So the idea is to code each each assessment that we're giving, a question, a whole assessment, a word problem, with the type of learning objective that it's attached to. So when we're writing our objectives, we may have some ideas of, okay, well, if I'm going to write learning objective X, then I have a few ideas of activities or assessments I can do that are sort of nested underneath that. And in doing that, then you can sort of say, okay, question 1, 2, and 3 are coded to this learning objective that I've written for this class period, or for this topic, or for this subject. And so then what you wind up having is you have a whole list of maybe rubrics or assessments or multiple choice quizzes, hypos, whatever it is, that are attached to particular learning objectives. So then this is where technology comes in, and technology is a wonderful thing for this because we have this sort of automated connection between these things. You have, using rubric tools or multiple choice online assessments, you can see how are students scoring on this test, and then the fact that you've taken that test or that assessment or whatever and said, okay, this tells me if they're accomplishing this learning objective. Then you start to see sort of that qualitative learning objective that you wrote being able to be represented quantitatively. The students' performance, their scores, are now telling you how the students are performing in that and how they're attaining these things that you've done. This is one way, the one way that I've thought of, at least initially. There's no real easy answer for this, but when you start to think about rubrics and the fact that you can go through and click and have different levels on those things makes it a lot easier to approach. And I think that technology is really, this is an example where technology is very much advancing how we can measure things like learning objectives quantitatively in an easy way, so we don't have to go through and score or do bubble sheets. I mean, students are getting instant feedback towards those learning objectives based on how you've connected your assessments with those learning objectives.